Here are bilateral shoulder cars. Bilateral meaning I'm doing two sides or both sides at the same time. We're going to work in this position or in these cars, which are a fancy name for a really controlled joint rotation. You're going to find your end range in each kind of part of the position, and then to come through your end range, you're going to rotate. You'll understand what I mean once you try these, and I'll show you right now. You're going to start by making your hands like karate chops. Okay, then you're going to lift across the body and open into a Y position. In this position, it's important that we're not shrugged through the shoulder blade. Instead, the blades are neutral or depressed, and now I'm trying to pull back as far as I possibly can. But we talked about these being very strict joint rotations, so what I want to avoid is flaring at the rib cage as I pull back. In other words, I want to make this as tight as I possibly can, then perform my car, my shoulder car in this case. So I come across and overhead. From here, belly is tight. I'm fighting to open up further and further. If you begin to shrug in this position, go a little bit wider with your angle. Then I've hit a roadblock. How do I pass through a roadblock? I rotate. So I'm going to start to rotate both palms towards the floor. As I do that, I'm going to open up a position so I'll be able to work behind a little bit further. Careful not to shrug. Then I've hit another roadblock. Okay, so I rotate a little bit more. This allows me to pass behind further. Continually rotating until it's a steady, smooth movement into as much shoulder extension as I can take. Once I get as much shoulder extension as I can take, I'm going to come down to the pockets and then reverse. I lift both hands as high as I possibly can. Can't go any further. In this position, make sure that we're not letting the torso drop. I'm still neutral, still tight. I'm going to unwind or rotate to pass through that roadblock. And as I rotate, it allows me to pass further up, further up, further up. And I pass through to start, or to back to the start. You're going to try to find within this shoulder car as much tension as you possibly can. There's going to be internal tension from the way that you stay tight throughout your torso, and there's going to be tension in the shoulders by the way that you find your maximum range of overhead flexion, right? How much can I lift overhead or pull back overhead? And then likewise, when I'm reversing the movement, how much can I lift? Okay, this is the tension I'm looking for. How high can I possibly lift? What do I feel on in this position before I begin to control the rotation through and back to the start? One more rep for you. We're lifting up, opening to our max flexion, rotating through it, working all the way behind and around to our back pocket, and then reversing, fighting for end range, unwinding the shoulder, passing back through. That took me about 8 to 10 seconds, and I was going a little quick. I'd expect each rep there and back to take around 15 seconds, but you can take as long as you need in order to feel and carve into each of those positions. We're building this awareness and a little bit of strength by bringing the joint through its entire range. Those are shoulder cars, bilateral shoulder cars.